Y'all gotta let me know which side you on in this one, because both characters can be mad annoying. Today's movie is called Not Easily Broken. When Dave first met Clarice, he knew she was the one. She was smart, full of life, and she swept him off of his feet. So, Dave proposed, and in 2005, they got married. The bishop put a 3-strand cord over them, saying God is the third cord that will keep them together. A big third leg would keep us together. They had plans for the future, and Dave expected to play in the major leagues while Clarice became a top real estate agent. But Dave got into an accident that shattered his leg, and that changed everything. Morris Chestnut definitely looks better bald. Now Clarice brings in more money as a top sales agent in their company. She's successful enough that she doesn't have any time to have sexy moments with her husband. Instead, she keeps reminding him that she has to work so they can keep the lifestyle they have. Dave, on the other hand, has more time on his hands. Not this being a dusty story again. Clarice heads to work with her hefty wig and has a chat with her best girl, Michelle. Michelle wonders if Dave has made any money recently, and Clarice gives her the look, knowing full well he dusty. Meanwhile, Dave meets up with his friends, Brock and Tree. Brock is going through a divorce, and Tree keeps his wife happy by giving in to all her whims. Why is he named Tree when he's so short? While playing ball, Dave gets in a fight with an old friend, Darnell. They used to be buddies, but Darnell ended up in prison and dropped too many bars of soap. Clarice shows a new house to a judge and his wife, and she's confident she'll be able to sell it. Dave and his friends are still talking about their wives, and Tree confronts Brock for complaining about his divorce when Brock is a hound dog. On top of that, Brock and Dave are already eyeing Julie Sawyer, a physical therapist. Julie's son, Bryson, is an excellent swimmer, and his coach thinks he should compete in the regional finals. When Dave comes home, he wants to make babies. But Clarice has no interest because she wants to focus on her career. Instead, she tells Dave to come home by 5 the next day because they will be attending an awards ceremony. She's going to be awarded Top Salesperson of the Year again. Dave works as a baseball coach for a small team, but he also acts like a father to the boys. One of his players is Darius, Darnell's son. Unfortunately, their beef is affecting the boys' game, as Darnell decides to pull the boy out of practice. Then he tells his son to stop chasing his dreams. It's already dark by the time Dave returns home, and they are late for the ceremony. Dave apologizes, but Clarice continues to nag him. Then out of nowhere, another vehicle crashes into their car, hurting both of them. Dave is conscious, but Clarice's injuries are severe. At least that shut her up. Luckily, Clarice's condition soon stabilizes. The doctor explains that Clarice will need months of physical therapy if she wants to be able to walk again. Tree and Brock arrive at the hospital to show their support, but they quickly leave when Clarice's mom, Mary, shows up. She's the original Nagger. Mary confronts Dave right away, saying if he wasn't late, then the accident wouldn't have happened. When Clarice returns home, she's a changed woman. The accident has made her grumpy, and she hates being in a wheelchair. To Dave's surprise, Clarice's mom is already in the house, announcing that she has moved in. Dave insists he'll take care of his wife, but the old woman refuses to listen to him. Even Clarice is glad to have her mother around. During a night out with his friends, Dave learns that Julie is a physical therapist, and now they need one. And of course, Brock wants to hit that mayonnaise. When Julie introduces herself for the first time, Clarice rudely tells her to leave.
I feel like Humpty Dumpty, that's how I feel.
Even Mary tells Clarice to calm her tits and let Julie do her job. But Clarice is so depressed that she wants to be left alone. Still, Julie stays with her and helps her get better until she's finally able to stand on her feet again. Dave, on the other hand, starts to bring in money to provide for their family, but his work as a baseball coach barely pays for his Chipotle addiction, and he finds himself struggling with paying the bills at times. One day, Julie's car won't start, and Clarice tells Dave to give Julie a ride. They pick up Julie's son first, and on the car ride, Dave promises Bryson he'll teach him how to play baseball. Dave takes a chance to tell Julie about his friend who wants to ask her out, but Julie says she's not looking to date at the moment. Dave better not trifle. On a Sunday, Clarice and Dave attend church again. They are both grateful that Clarice is doing so well, and the bishop assures the family that they are open 24/7 if ever they need help. Brock is still hitting on Julie and is still hoping for a date. When they return her car, he even gets the credit for fixing the vehicle, even though it was a mechanic who did all the work. Now that she's doing well, Clarice meets with some big-back clients in a fancy restaurant. They are all particularly happy that she's back on her feet. When it's time to pay, Clarice insists that they'll take care of the bill, and then she gestures to Dave to give his credit card. She proceeds to brag that Dave has a big construction company, even though Dave insists that they only handle small projects. Clarice cuts him off every single time. To add to that, his credit card has been declined. Dusty. Clarice is shocked and tries to save the situation by offering her card. The argument between the two is already making the clients uncomfortable, and the big back one offers to finally pay the bill. They continue to take their fight at home when Clarice demands they buy an Escalade so that her clients know she's rich. She continues to nag and rant about how irresponsible Dave is and promises to clean up his mess herself. Mary joins in the fight and puts all the blame on Dave. So Dave finally walks out on them and spends the rest of the day listening to music. A mother inserting herself in this marriage is too much. She's single and miserable. The next day, they find Julie and Bryson ready for baseball practice. The boy is having a hard time hitting the ball, so Dave gives him a little pep talk until he can finally do it. Even Julie is impressed and her kitty starts to purr. Afterward, Brock asks Julie on a date, but Julie makes it clear that he is not her type at all, as she wants someone who is ready to be a father and a husband. Also, I think she likes brothers. Later that night, Dave tells Darnell that their beef shouldn't affect the boy's baseball career, but Darnell is defiant and refuses to listen. When Dave returns home, he receives a call from Bryson. Both Clarice and her mom are surprised when they see Dave going out to answer the phone. The boy invites him to his swimming meet, and Dave is more than happy to say yes. Later that night, Clarice finally decides to talk to Dave as she feels him moving away from her. She suggests they see someone to help them. Soon after, they meet with the bishop, and Clarice begins to complain about her husband spending time coaching the boys rather than being at home with her. The bishop realizes that Dave acts like a father to the boys and assumes he wants to have children. But Clarice insists that they can't afford to have any children. You can give up that Escalade. Dave has given up arguing with his wife because Clarice rolls her eyes instead of listening. They continue like this, and one night Dave has a naughty dream about Julie. Clarice tells him he's moaning in his sleep. Later, she checks his phone and finds Julie in his call logs. So even when Clarice successfully sells the house to the judge and his wife, she doesn't look too happy. She confides in Michelle that Dave has been cheating on her with Julie. Michelle reminds her that Dave is too good a man to lose, so she shouldn't give up on him. Michelle says she's willing to beat up the white girl too. At Bryson's swim meet, he ranks first place. The boy is doing so well they are considering him for the Junior Olympics. Julie thanks Dave for his time and proceeds to ask what happened to his career as a baseball player. Dave explains that an injury has ruined everything for him and has damaged his friendship with Darnell. As he becomes more vulnerable with Julie, Brock sees the two of them. He has bought flowers for Julie, but she's quick to make an excuse to walk away. So Brock confronts Dave as he knows what his friend's been up to. He reminds Dave that he has a beautiful wife and a good life, but Dave thinks that his life is shit, that there's no way to mess it up even more. When he comes home that night, Clarice is wearing a red dress and ready to spread it all, but Dave pushes her away, prompting her to finally ask if he has already slept with Julie. He denies it, but Dave reveals that he has feelings for the therapist. Just leave each other. Y'all want different things. The next day, Clarice goes to Julie's house and demands that she stay away from Dave. Julie denies the affair, but Clarice is adamant about keeping the two apart. Thin-lipped Julie ain't got much going on. On the day of the finals, Julie shows her full support to Bryson, and the boy finishes first. Dave, on the other hand, has a very physical basketball game with Darnell. Because there's no one around, Darnell finally asks Dave who would have had the scholarship between the two of them back in the day. So Dave finally reveals that it would have been Darnell. When Dave returns home, he finds Mary throwing all his clothes outside. He finally confronts the old woman, and Clarice sides with her mother. Mary accuses Dave of leeching off of Clarice's success, and Dave is extremely disappointed when Clarice doesn't defend him at all. So he finally gives up and says he's walking away from that marriage and the house. Honestly, I support separation if they're no longer compatible. Then Brock arrives with some bad news about Bryson. It turns out that the boy hit the wall too hard in the pool. When they get to the hospital, Bryson is already dead. With no one by Julie's side, Dave promises he'll be there to support. Friends attend the boy's funeral, and Julie can't be consoled. Clarice admits to the bishop that God isn't the third string that tied her marriage to Dave, and the bishop says it's the reason everything is falling apart. On top of that, he says Clarice listened to her mother in the matters of her own marriage, which ultimately got them into this mess. Yeah, that mama's single for a reason. Dave finally finds his own place. The following days, he continues to reach out to Julie, but she never answers the phone. One night, Clarice finally asks her mom about her father. She knows that the old man didn't cheat, and still, her mom kicked him out of the house. Mary reveals that her husband hit her, and that is why she kicked him out. She warns Clarice that Dave will hit her soon, and it's right to kick him out before it happens. But Clarice has decided to stick with her husband. She musters up the courage to tell her mother that it's time for her to leave because she doesn't want to end up single, alone, and miserable like her. Meanwhile, Dave receives a call from Julie. He rushes to check on her and finds her breaking down. She confides in Dave, and in the middle of the emotional moment, they both lean in to swallow each other's tonsil stones. But Dave pulls away, saying he can't do it, and Julie says she understands. Later that night, the bishop finds Dave praying. The next day, Clarice brings Dave some food. She says that her mother will no longer bother them. Then she admits that she can't live without Dave. Dave forgives his wife, and they share a kiss for the first time in a long time. Soon after, Darnell makes amends with Dave, and he lets his kid back in the team. The same day, Clarice reveals that she's pregnant, and Dave can't help but cry. It's honestly a great ending, and those two were both frustrating in their own ways. He clearly isn't the type of ambitious man Clarice wants, and he obviously wants to have a family. I'm glad they found the compromise at the end, although I hope Clarice isn't giving up her dreams just to appease her man. What do you guys think of this one?
Did you guys enjoy that one? Make sure to subscribe and keep watching for more. I won't judge. You can click here or here.